Nice. Nice.
Epic, but I am going to sleep.
Marley and Me. Preface. The Perfect Dog. In the summer of 1967, when I was 10 years old, my father caved into my persistent pleas and took me to get my own dog. Together, we drew into the Together, we drove into the family station wagon, far into the Michigan countryside, to a farm ran by a rough-hewn woman and her ancient mother. The farm produced just one commodity: dogs. Albino. No, 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 I needed to know. Is he gonna come back? Oh, alright. Yeah. I'm gonna do an epic reading. One commodity: dogs. Dogs of every imaginable size, shape, and temperament. Age and temperament. They only had two things in common. Each was a mongrel of unknown and indistinct ancestry, and each were free to a good home. We were at a mutt ranch. Now, take your time, son, Dad said. Your decision today will be with you for many years to come. I quickly decided the old dogs were somebody else's charity case. I immediately rushed to the puppy cage. You want to pick one that's not timid, my father coached. Try rattling the cage and see which ones aren't afraid. I grabbed the chain link gate and yanked on it with a loud clang. The dozen or so and yanked in on it with a loud clang. The dozen or so puppies reeled backwards, collapsing. Another on a squiggling heap of fur. Just one remained. He was gold with a white blaze on his chest. He was charged at the gate, yapping furiously. He jumped up excitedly, licking at my fingers through the fence. It was love at first sight. I brought him home in a cardboard box and named him Sean. He's that give dogs a good name. He effortlessly mastered every command I taught him. Okay. And was naturally well behaved. I could drop a crust on the floor and he would not touch it until I gave the okay. He came when I called him and stayed when I. We could let him out alone at night, knowing he would be back at making his rounds. Not not that we often did, but we could leave him alone in the house for hours, confident that we'd have an accident or disturb a thing. He raced cars without chasing them and walked beside me without a leash. He dogged and he could dive into the bottom of a lake and emerge with rocks so big sometimes they got stuck in his jaws. He loved nothing more than riding the car and would sit quietly in the back seat beside me on family road trips, content to spending hours gazing out of the window at the passing world. Perhaps best of all, I trained him to pull me through the neighborhood dog sled style as I sat on my bicycle, making me hands down envy of my friends. Never once did he lead me to a hazard. He was with me when I first smoked my first cigarette and my last when I kissed my first girl. He was right there beside me in the front seat when I snuck out of my older brother's house for my first joyride. Wait, he snuck out my old brother's Corvair for my first joyride. Sean was spirited but controlled, affectionate but calm. He had the dignified good manners to back himself modestly into the bushes before squirming to do his duty, only his head peering out. Thanks to our tidy habit, or thanks to this tidy habit, our lawn was safe for bare feet. Relatives would often visit for the weekend and return home determined to buy a dog of their own. So impressed they were with Sean, or Saint Sean as I came to call him. It was a family joke, the same business, but one we could almost believe. Born with the curse of an uncertain lineage, he's one of the tens of thousands of unwanted dogs in America. Yet by some stroke of almost providential good fortune, he became wanted. He came into my life and I into his. In process, he gave me every childhood every kid deserves. The love affair lasted 14 years. By the time he died, I was no longer the little boy that brought him home that summer day. I was a man, out of college, working across the state in my first real job. St. Sean had stayed behind when I moved on. This is where he belonged. My parents, by then retired, called to break the news to me. My mother would later tell me, in 50 years of marriage, I've only seen your father cried twice. The first time when we lost Mary Ann, my sister, who is stillborn. The second time when Sean died. Saint Sean was of my childhood. He's the perfect dog. At least that's how I always remember him. It was Sean who set the standard that I'll judge all dogs to come. Alright, that's about it. See you. I'm gonna turn this broadcast off.